I'm not going. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to bring to order the Thursday, April 18th meeting of the Comox Strathcona Regional Hospital District Board. And I would like to acknowledge that we're meeting today on the traditional unceded territory of the Comox First Nation, and that the Comox Strathcona Regional Hospital District service area includes the Coast Salish, Kawakawak, and Nuchalnuth territories. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to acknowledge that apart from Hospital Board Regional District staff, we have in the chambers today Directors Dahl, Arbor, Sinnott, Grant, Terrian, and Kerr. And online we have Directors Chapman, Grieve, Joliker, Rice. I believe we have Director Morin, Mowini, and I can't see the rest of the Director Wally, welcome. We have Director Vonish, Director Davis, Director Hardy. And that is, I believe, Director Cole Hamilton. Thanks very much. And
Director Kerr.
Yes, Director Curran. Did I mention Director Deck? Anyway, welcome everyone. We also have Island Health personnel in Diane McKay and Dave Boychuk, and that would be it. So thanks very much everyone for being here, and thanks for being flexible with the 9 o'clock start time. That was arranged to facilitate people who are attending the housing conference in Courtenay. And as it turns out, it also helps. I have a hospital engagement myself later this morning with a family member. And I also just had skin surgery yesterday. So if you see the bandages on my face and head, I have not been in a knife fight, contrary to rumors to that extent. Anyway, we shall start the meeting. And our first item of business is the adoption of minutes for March 21st. Move for adoption, please. Moved by Armour, second by Terrian. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? That is carried. And our main item of business today, the report dated March 28th regarding the Comox Strathcona financial statements and audit findings. A motion for receipt, please. Moved by Arbor, second by Terrian. And I believe we have Corey Vanderhorst with us from Mars Norris Penny. Thanks very much for being here today, Corey, and I'll turn things over to you.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Hi, Corey. Thanks. I'm just going to introduce Tina He, our Manager of Financial Operations, to introduce the report, and then I think introduce Corey after that. So, Tina, over to you.
Sorry. Thank you, James. Good morning through the chair to the directors. The financial statements for the year end December 31st, 2023 has been delivered to the board today for approval. In addition to the financial statements, MNP have submitted their audit finding reports to the board. So in compliance with the Canadian auditing standard, the financial statements are being presented by management for board approval prior to a finalized auditor's report being included. Here's the outline today. I will go through the highlights of the financial statements, and then I'll pass things over to Corey Vanderhorst, the audit partner from MNP, to present their audit finding reports. And I will do the recommendation to the board. At the end, there will be a Q&A section for any question. This is the highlights for 2023 year's financial statements, starting with the statements of financial position. Comparing with year 2022, total financial assets for 2023 increased by 2.9 million. This is due to the increased interest earned and higher transfer to reserve during 2023. Aligned with the board approved adopted investment policy, staff have proceed to invest 12 million in GICs with Royal Bank of Canada and 2 million in MFA bond fund. So 14 million has been moved from cash to the investment line on the statements of financial position. Total liability decreased by 8.8 million due to the principal paydown of the long-term debts for North Island Hospital project completed in 2017. Hospital district stands in a negative equity position of 16.6 million on December 31st, 2023. This is largely due to the capital land loan fund. This debt was incurred to finance capital and will be recovered from the future requisitions. Now we're moving to the statements of operation. Total revenue increased by 970,000, mainly comes from the increased interest rate as a result of the newly acquired investment with higher interest rate in 2023. And then total expense decreased by 364,000, mainly due to the debenture interest expense decreased. And also the grants to the healthcare facility decreased by 129,000. Now, Corey Wendehorst, the audit partner from MNP, is on Zoom today, and he's going to provide an overview for the audit findings. Before I pass things over, I do want to take this opportunity to thank you, Corey, and his team from MNP for assisting the whole year-end process. Corey, your turn.
Thanks very much, Tina, and my apologies for the earlier misintroduction. Now over to Corey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Tina, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me here to speak today quickly. Just a couple quick highlights from the audit findings report. You have it in your reading packages. I will start with a big thank you to Tina and the finance department at the regional district for putting together the regional hospital district financials for us. The audit goes very smoothly. We definitely appreciate all their assistance. The two main points in the audit findings are, the audit is complete. As I said, it went well. We're prepared to issue a clean audit opinion. We're satisfied that the financial statements that Tina just went through in summarized form there are prepared appropriately in all material respects. The other item of note there is we always want to discuss our materiality and what number we're using for the audit. It drives the amount of audit work and the conversations around the audit. So materiality, of course, theoretically that's the level that would change a decision that you're making, right? It would be a threshold where you would see some significance to a matter. And for us on the audit side, we can't give a clean audit opinion if there are differences in the financial statements that are over this dollar amount, and then we have to look at every transaction over materiality, and we sample underneath. So for 2023 for the hospital district, that number was $720,000. That's calculated as roughly 5% of your annual revenues. And as I mentioned, we look at every transaction larger than that, which is usually the requisitions, and some of the grant payments to Island Health can get over that amount. And then we sample transactions underneath to satisfy ourselves that your financial statements are accurately reported. So that's everything for me from the audit findings report. Again, a big thank you to staff for their time and effort putting together the financial statements.
Thanks very much, Corey. Tina, did you have anything more to?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Corey. Now it's come to our recommendation. I recommend the board, the financial statements of the Comox Strathcona Regional Hospital District for the year end December 31st, 2023 be approved. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks very much. Questions or comments from directors? Director Arbour.
Yeah, thanks. It's a question I've never asked or heard other people ask. But the hospital service, we basically collect taxes from our residents and then turn it over to Island Health as contribution to capital projects. So could the board know how many, like for me, there could just be like 10 transactions in a year or something like that. Like how many total transactions or entries are we looking at in this service? Because we're collecting a ton of money, then I imagine we just turn it over to hospital. So when you talk about materiality of 720,000 and things like that, like, are we just looking at like 5 transactions a year, or can we get a scale of how many entries there is in this particular corporation?
Corey, do you guys have the sample size?
Yes, I do. I'm just pulling it up first. So thank you, Director Arbour, for the question. For context, that the dollar value maybe is an important number as well there. while I'm pulling up, the transactions, the number of transactions. In 2023, $437,000 was provided to Island Health for various facilities in your area, and in 2022, 566,000. So in both years, the actual transactions going to Island Health were below materiality. That being said, the budget for grants to healthcare facilities was over 7 million in 2023. So as you're getting the information in from Island Health, and I do recognize there's a couple Island Health individuals on the line. There's the plans, there's what's projected to happen, and your staff does the best they can to manage what are those anticipated costs. And then there's always the timing of, when is Island Health able to move on those projects and get things going. So there's a double layer of process there. Island Health will submit those claims to you as the hospital district, and then you pay in accordance with the 60-40 split on those projects. So I mean, that's a partial answer. I'm just looking right now at how many transactions came through in 2023. Yeah, I mean, at that $437,000 mark, I have it broken down by some of the different facilities. It's about 11. It's 11 different facilities that got funding. Although I believe the Comox Valley Hospital may have had multiple claims in there. So you're not talking a large amount of transactions in a year. That being said, when you look at the budget of $7 million, there is the potential for large projects there.
Thanks for that, Director Arbor. Further?
Yeah, the only reason I ask is, if the total number of transactions is say 20 to 30, I still don't have an answer on that, but it seems like it's a low number, 11 facilities plus the hospital. It looks like sampling, like audit could simply look at every transaction, or it looks like it's a very quick audit if there's only a handful of transactions in the service.
Yeah, that's accurate. The director is we are looking at many of those items on the balance sheet, confirming the debt levels and the requisition amounts. We are almost auditing 100% of the transactions. Yep.
Thanks for that. Further questions or comments? And we have Director Jolicoeur online.
Thanks, Chair. Good morning, everyone. My questions are mostly for staff. With the audited financials now showing a $11 million surplus for 2023, do we have a process in establishing, whether it be a policy or a practice around where that might, or we had a conversation at the hospital board around what we should be doing with year-over-year surpluses?
So for my understanding, it's the surplus board every year approving a transfer to the reserve. And also for the money, as you see this year, we moved like a 14 million from the cash line to the investment to earning more income and to helping us to build more surplus. That's kind of what we're doing right now.
So more of a practice than a policy.
Yeah.
And if I may, Tina, important to note that there's an $11 million accounting surplus, but $7.8 million out of that is paying down debt. So not all 11 million is going into the reserves and the cash on hand. Almost 8 million gets paid down debt. More of a $3 million number that you're talking about managing on a go forward.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, and you can see like in our note section, there's a reserve balance, and then the reserve balance is there, but we do have the plan for those funds. So we have like about 6.6 million already committed to the Island Health projects. We also have a long-term care facility come up starting, I think, this year, and will be funded through the debt plus the reserve balance.
Yes, and I might add that this issue was thoroughly discussed in a strategic planning process a couple of years ago that determined the plan to support the long-term care facility in Campbell River and the future health hub in the Comox Valley. So basically board direction that has set that course, Director.
Yeah, thanks. I do have one more question, Chair, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just pulling up the page number here. So happy to see the investments in the audited financials. Again, question for staff. I know that we spent some time at our strategic planning session in Campbell River a few months ago on this topic. And I guess I'm just curious how we landed on the percentage split between the GICs with the private bank and the smaller amount with MFA.
James, do you want to handle this one?
Yeah, I would just say that to the directors that the application of the investment policy directs the breakdown, the percentages of where the investments are going. Tina, you probably got a lot more detail to be able to provide for that, but it does follow the investment policy that the board's approved.
Yes, so the breakdown of the investments, I think I included in the staff reports. I think it's 12 million goes to the GIC. So we invest in the Royal Bank of Canada's GIC, which is guaranteed. And then we also have like a $2 million invested in the MFA bond fund. And yeah, so those ones are kind of a safe investments.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks for that. Further questions or comments from directors? There appearing to be none. We shall vote on receipt. Is there anyone opposed to receipt? That is carried. And we have a recommendation that the financial statements of the Comox Strathcona Regional Hospital District for the year ended December 31st, 2023 be approved. A motion for that, please. Moved by Grant, seconded by Kerr, Jonathan Kerr. Just to be clear. Is there any discussion? All right. Is there anyone opposed? That motion is carried. Thanks very much, Corey, for your participation today, and to finance staff.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And we shall move on in our agenda to item number 2, which is the resolution status report dated April 20th. A motion for receipt, please. Moved by Grant, seconded by Arbor. Is there any discussion? Director Arbor.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'm just wondering on item 2, I'm really happy that the board and Island Health are proceeding with the long-term care facility in Campbell River. That's awesome. But I see that the execution of the MOU, which is kind of ground zero for even starting on the Island Health Hub project in the Comox Valley, is still outstanding. So I just have a question as to whether it's still outstanding because of issues on our end or on Island Health ends, or any report that we might. It'd be nice to get this project going sooner than later. So.
Yes, thanks. I'll ask James Warren to comment on that. And then I note that Max Jazzcock from Island Health has also joined, and Dave Boychuk, Diane, either of them may want to add a comment. But first of all, James.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, we've got a great team from Island Health there who can weigh in on this topic for sure. The conversation with Island Health and CSRHD is progressing with respect to the Health Services Hub. The MOU itself is not signed, not for any particular reason, I think, beyond just needing to go through that process to get that signed. And I perhaps Dave has an update on that respect. But the conversation around the services hub certainly is progressing, and I know that this is still of high priority to Island Health. And I think perhaps Dave can speak to the MOU, and then either Dave or Diane can speak to the services hub. Dave, are you able to comment at all?
I am, and thank you, both James and through the chair to you, Director.
No, you've got on mute, Dave.
My apologies. We are just working through the MOU process. It can be slightly complicated on our side, Director, as we work through the scope of project and things of that nature. So there's no impediment to getting it through, and we will have it through the process in due course and before very long, to your point.
Dave, I know that there are also issues regarding location and the exact scope of the service. Did your Max or Diane want to comment on that at all?
Yeah, I'll comment briefly on it, and that's certainly part of it. We have been through quite an intensive process, and both Max and Diane have been extensively involved in that with RHD staff. Citing this, it is a challenge. We need to balance the needs of the community and the needs of the population group that we are serving. And we also need to find a space that is suitable for the size of build and the ability to co-locate. So there are quite a lot of moving pieces. We are working quite actively on this and is going well. We are looking for space and we haven't settled on it yet, but we continue to work very actively on it. And I will defer to Max or Diane if there's anything they wish to add.
Max or Diane, anything to add?
Nothing for me. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, Dave said it really well. We're quite fortunate to have Dave and Diane's leadership on this, plus the connections through the RHD. There's a lot of really great work happening, and we continue to progress to be able to seek out the options for the most appropriate locations.
Thanks very much for that. And Director Jolicoeur online with a question.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So, and thanks, Director Arbor. I have the last few meetings asked the same question as Director Arbor, and I think that we've been getting the same answer. I function in a space with lots of MOUs all the time. I'm curious if we can move forward with an MOU without the exact location, given that there's significant other components that we do still need to figure out. Primarily, I know the City of Courtenay is concerned about the program options at the facility, and I know that there's a lot of work that Island Health is doing internally around that. And so I'm curious to hear from our Island Health colleagues if there's anything that we can do to expedite the development of the MOU, notwithstanding whether or not we have the exact location of the facility.
Max, Dave, or Diane, any comment in that regard?
Thank you, Chair and Director Jolicoeur. I'm happy to address it. Certainly, we can look at bringing the MOU forward, Director, if that's the will of the board. We're certainly happy to do that. We can ensure that we address it without having the specificity. It certainly has been our preference to have some of the functional planning worked out prior to completing the MOU, but we can do that, and I will take that away for next meeting to report back to you, hopefully with a executed MOU in hand, Director.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for that. I know that you have a lot on your plates at Island Health, particularly with some of the staffing issues in hospitals. We do hear about Campbell River in that regard. But I think directors are just asking that this not remain as and that it be given the priority that I think this table would like to see. And we have Director Morin with a question or comment.
Great, thank you, Chair. I'm in an on the road location, so hopefully it's translating okay on that end. Anyway, yeah, my question, I guess, is similar in terms of we don't have a sense exactly of what programming is going to happen. I know there's been discussion around potential multi-use buildings and things like that with other services. And of course, many of us are hoping that there might be some entertainment of talking about potential housing or something like, sober living or whatever attached to this. So I guess my question is, does that all have to be sorted out before we kind of decide on the property? I guess I'm wondering which comes first, the cart or the horse in terms of process, if we're still working out what the programming is, and how we kind of develop an MOU with all those questions in the air.
Thanks, Director, and our CAO, James Warren, will start us off on this.
Thanks, and certainly if Island Health wants to weigh in and provide any context, please do. I think what I'm hearing from the board is that we owe you a report just on this topic overall, and I think from Dave's comments that the MOU will be expedited, that would be really appropriate to bring that forward and provide a bit more of an overarching sense of this project and the programming and the process to follow. And so we can commit to do that, to bring a report back to the hospital board, hopefully in line with that executed MOU, to give the board a sense of the programming and process to follow.
Thanks, James. Go ahead, Dave.
Thank you, Chair. And I agree entirely with James. We can certainly expedite the MOU. We hear very clearly the priority that the board puts on that. And I can answer one question directly for you, Director, which is we need to settle the programming, which we are doing concurrently as we look at space, because part of as we look at what needs to be in a space dictates how large a facility needs to be built, which in turn has an effect on where we might site that facility.
Thanks, Dave. Director Morin, anything further?
No, thank you.
Okay, yeah, your hand was still up, but that's why I asked. All right, further questions or comments from directors? All right, we are on receipt or rather, receipt of the resolution status report. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. And we have no further business today. So move termination by Arbor, seconder. Second. Anyone opposed? That's carried. Thanks very much to everyone for taking part and facilitating the earlier start. Best wishes for the rest of your day.